Okay, well, I wanted to make a video answering a question I got from one of my subs. Now, those of you who follow my channel, you know that, you leave a response, good or bad. If I see it, I'm going to respond. If you come in the channel and start talking bad to my subs, I block you. If you got a question, I answer you, right? And I just like to read the debates sometimes when I have time. But, I try to help out when I can, right? And, we learn from each other. That's really what this is all about. Nobody has all the answers, but, so we learn from each other. Now, I never mention names. Like I say, I've always said before, unless I'm given the okay, I don't give any names. But I'll say they're one of my subs. And the question was, how would a teen with limited funds and parents who think prepping is a waste of time, go about doing this? And I was going to leave them a quick answer, and, a couple ideas, but I'm like, no, this is pretty important. And there's not really much, I don't think, on the topic because, well, if you're a teen, and I don't know how old this young prepper is. Are they 13? Are they 19? I don't know. So I'm just going to give out ideas that can be used, and depending on your age, your circumstances, you can kind of tweak it to fit your needs, or as best you can. Now, first off, let's say you're really young, then you're really limited to what you can do, but you can still do things. You know your parents, or a parent, right? Can you probably persuade them, or would they just go along with it, just to make you happy? You decide what's right to you according to your family, and your age. Now, how would I start out? This is basically anybody can do this. I would start out by printing out the 72-hour preparedness plans from the CDC and the FEMA websites. I'm going to leave links in the description bar. Make this as easy on you as I can. And you would use these as a baseline, right? So I would say you start doing your preps, you print this out, you read and you learn what you can from the websites. Print them out, that's really important, and you put them aside, right? And then when you have time, you print out articles on things that have happened in previous disasters. The LA riots, Argentina collapse, Hurricane Katrina, right? The Ferguson riots and Baltimore riots, and the economic disaster going on in Venezuela right now, where people are eating cats and dogs. I mean, their own pets, stray dogs, and animals are basically history, right? And just put them aside. Of course, you can read these stories if you want to, but it's more for like your parents if they ever, really decide to let me see what you're getting into. What's my kid doing? Why are they interested in this? Then you have some reference guides, right? You would have the CDC and FEMA websites, printouts. That way they're like, well, my son or daughter isn't just making this up, right? There's actually the government, the U.S. government, actually recommends, I do what my kid is telling me to do. And then you could have, of course, in the printouts of the articles, real life events where things have happened, right? You would have that laying around. Maybe you could sway them someday. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. You know your circumstances better than I do, right? I know nothing about it except that you're young and you have limited abilities here because of your age and restrictions, right? Again, if they ask why you're doing this, you can show them the printouts. Now, after that, you want to have, the first thing you do in a shit at the fan scenario is have some sort of a reference guide. I've done this myself. I have a binder with instructions on what to do if shit hits the fan. And it's according to my situation, of course. Now, the idea is my wife or my sister that works, a couple blocks away, she has a key to my home. If she's here, she would come in here. Or my wife, they kind of get the idea. They open the binder and they follow instructions. And, you know, that's even for myself. Let's say I've got so much to deal with, I'm not thinking clearly. I'm even thinking, you know, a backup plan for myself of what I do. And the first thing on my list is fill all containers with water. So you get a composition notebook, and page 1, you know, what to do in an emergency. And the first line, fill all containers with water. This would be the containers I'm going to talk to you about getting later on, as well as if something happened right now, right after you watch this video. You know, you'd run down, you'd fill up your bathtub, you'd fill up all the bowls, all the glasses, everything you can fill up with water in your home, you would fill it up with water, right? I mean, you can actually drink from, obviously, you know. But fill all containers with water, because you're going to need that. Without water, you can't make it more than a few days, right? You would also use this notebook as a supply list. This is going to be, you write, you know, a list for what you need, and you know, a checklist. You write it as you go, right? The supplies, the food, you know, canned goods, stuff like that. An inventory book, basically, right? But like I said, first few pages save up for what to do right away, right? It could be lock the doors, you know, send a text. In an emergency, you probably will not be able to make a phone call, but texts, sometimes you can make it, sometimes not. So, you know, maybe text the family or something like that, you know, but just a step down the list of what to do. Now, after you've got this book together, you know, you're coming up with a plan, which won't be very hard to do. You prep for a passing event. This is basically what you're reading in the CDC or FEMA websites. Right, 72 hours, 3 days. That's going to be your standard. So, you keep this in your room, I'm assuming. Again, I'm not sure what the situation is, but I'm assuming you keep this in your room. And it'd be for passing events. 3 days worth of supplies. You would want to have maybe a case of water, you know. You would want to have canned goods, maybe some instant meals, you know, ramen. Of course, it's not the best in the world, but, you know, ramen, instant potatoes, instant rice, you know, dehydrated beans, stuff like that. You know, simple and easy, right? Some candles, some 7-day candles if you can get a hold of some, depending on your age again, you know, flashlight, batteries, stuff like that, right? In case there's some, like, basically what you got to think of is a bad snowstorm and you're stuck inside, you can't get anywhere, can't go anywhere, right? That's how you're going to picture this in your mind. You're stuck inside 3 days and there's nothing, you know, but what's in the box. What would you put in that box? And then you can build on this. That's step 1, right? You know, mark the box bad weather or something like that, right? And then you have just a few provisions inside there that you'd need in a bad weather, you know, blizzard or something like that type scenario. Next, you want to make a bug out bag, right? I would personally just, you know, depending on your age, you know, I don't know your situation, but I would just put it in a box like old clothes, old stuff, something like that, something that only I knew what it was, so people wouldn't nose around in it. I did what I believe is the best budget bug out bag video on YouTube. $50 or less, and it had about 46 different items. Everything from, you know, food, water procurement and filtration, fire, shelter, all, you know, all the essentials were in there. I would strongly recommend you watch that video and try to replicate it. And of course, you know, tweak things according to your needs. And, you know, in a really, really bad situation, you would have some supplies ready to go if you had to move. I'm going to leave links in the description bar to this video as well. Now, that bug out bag would be an extension, right? The box, the bad weather box would be 3 days worth of provisions. Your bug out bag would be another 3 days worth of provisions. So now you've doubled, the time you can make it for shit hit the fan, right? Just right there. That's where you want to start. So of course you got 6 days worth, and you build on it as you go. And you need to think of this like when you get on an airplane and they tell you that if the oxygen masks drop, the first thing you do is you put on your mask. They say you cannot help the person next to you if you are passed out yourself, right? You can't help them if you need help. So that's what the bug out bag is. You have something ready to go and you're covered. That way when something happens, you can help your folks. And in that composition book, you would have your checklist, your bug out bag checklist that you probably got from hopefully watching my video, get an idea of the things you need. And then, mom, dad, we need to, when they listen to you finally, God forbid, it's too late, but they listen to you, okay, look, I've got something set up here. You could have the FEMA printouts of how to, the kits, the preparedness. I'm going to leave water, emergency water instructions from FEMA and the EPA. You print those out and you keep them in the notebook. If something happens, you got it. Be like, look, this is how we do water. This is what you need to do in case we need to leave. You're already set up. You can help them if you've helped yourself. Okay? Now, I'm assuming, if you're a teen, then you cannot buy a firearm. 18, 19, yeah, you can buy a, rifle, shotgun, but, most teens are not going to be of age. So, first off, do you really need a firearm? Like, do your parents have firearms? You don't need a firearm if there's already a gun in the house. I'm pretty sure, your folks will defend you, and they're going to teach you to defend yourself if things go bad, things turn south, right? So if there's already one in the house, then you're fine. You don't have to worry about it, right? If you don't have a gun in the house, then you would be at a disadvantage. But you're young. You have speed, right? You have agility. If somebody breaks in at night, you got a baseball bat or something like that, and the layout of your house. If you they're going to hurt you, you can defend yourself, right? Especially if there's, an SHTF, there's no power. The layout of your home, right? Better than anybody, than some stranger. You and your folks would. So baseball bat. I made a video, and again, this depends on your age, but it was called Alternative Weapons for Shit at the Fan. And it was more for, like, people in gun-restrictive states, where it's really hard to get a firearm, or if you don't have the money for it, and where you're in a state that it's really expensive and really, really hard to do so. But, maybe you can get some ideas in that video. I'll leave a link, you can find it on my page. But I talked about things that I would do when I was young. I didn't have, I couldn't get to my dad's firearm, in the safe, but I thought of, well, if it's really that bad, he only has that one gun, what would I do? How could I make myself, how could I help him? So I thought of ways to, I could probably help him. So again, it depends, in your situation, and if it's life or death. I'm not going to tell you what to or not to do. Use your own common sense, guys. If you're a prepper, you have enough sense to know there's something wrong. So use your head, okay? You've come this far alone, and especially if you've got parents that are not on board with you, then you're pretty bright. You're being basically indoctrinated. Don't worry about it, everything's fine. The government's going to take care of you, everything's fine. But you see if there's a problem, or what if you don't want to put your life or your family's life, on somebody else. You don't want to depend on anybody. You want to make sure yourself. You're bright enough to see that, then you can use your head. Now, I'm assuming you have very limited storage space. right? This is going to be even harder than a prepper in a small apartment. A teen would probably only have the closet space in their room, if you're lucky. Maybe you have a garage or a shed in the yard or something, right? Then you can expand on this, but I'm going to make it hard and focus on just a teen with only their own room, right? Because that's going to be the hardest. You can expand upon it. If you have more room, of course you can do other things, but we're going to go on that. Now, the most important prep is water. I would start by gathering food-grade containers, right, from grocery stores. They get big old buckets of food and containers. Those are food grade. And they just throw them away. All you have to do is ask for them. If you ask, they'll give them to you, right? They don't care. They're just going to chunk them anyway. So you would clean these containers up, and you would stack them up, right? 5-gallon containers probably on top of each other, so they take up much less space. You clean them up so they're ready. And you would keep the top one covered with like a garbage bag, and keep it taped up, right? So it's clean, ready to use. And, if you don't have anything but your closet, put them in your closet. Remember, it's the most important prep. If shit hits the fan, you would grab them, fill them to the top, and seal them up, right? You want to keep the lids, of course. It's not the ideal situation. However, if it's the best you can do, then do it. Water is take it for granted, but it's life itself, right? Also, make sure there's a bottle of bleach in the house, right? You can use the FEMA instructions for treating water with bleach, and the EPA instructions. I'll leave them both. Keep a copy in your bug out bag. Keep a copy in the food grade containers in the top one. Keep a copy, somewhere else. And in an emergency, fill up these containers. Seal them. Fill up the bathtub. Fill up everything you can. Right? Another thing that might come in handy would be the flashlight. I made a video about a 9-in-1 flashlight. Now it's got 9 different purposes. I'm going to leave a link in that video. You can check it out. I go over all of them. But the main 3, of course, it's a flashlight. Right? A flashlight you just crank. There's no batteries. I hate batteries. You crank it, you have light. Also, it's a radio, right? You want to know what's going on, but you want to hunker down. A radio would give you that ability. You crank it, you listen in, listen to the local news, and find out what's going on. And the crank flashlight, the 9-in-1 flashlight, costs you as much as an emergency radio. So I would just say, get this, it's 9-in-1, right? And another thing, it is a charger. It has adapters on it. You can plug in your phone. You can plug in other equipment you can charge up, and you just wind it until you charge up the battery. It may take you a while. However, without solar, without a generator, it is a way that you can charge up some devices, right? And it just takes elbow grease. If there's, an SHTF, you have nothing but time. So you can charge things up. Maybe you can send out a text, that might work, it might not, I don't know. But it's something you can do, and it costs just as much as an emergency radio. So a link in the description bar to that video. I go over it and make a little review, and there's a link in the description bar of that video. As far as food goes, I remember watching Doomsday Preppers back in the day. And there was this kid who would take one can from his mom's pantry every now and then. When they came from the store, he'd take one can, from their little grocery trip. It's not stealing, in my opinion, right? I mean, he was putting it aside for the family. And, I guess he maybe took some other stuff and she wouldn't notice. She just assumed it was eaten, but he wasn't like throwing it away or selling it or something. He was putting it aside for his family. I would look in the pantry and put aside canned goods with lots of protein, like beans, if you have to, refried beans, pork and beans, some canned veggies, right? Maybe Jell-O. It's an SAS trick for calories, right? A quick boost. I made a video about a dehydrated mix I like to make. And it has instant rice, instant beans, chow mein noodles crushed up with the veggie kits, garlic powder, and dry onions, a little salt, and a little pepper. I would say you put the mix in a container, a good solid container, maybe a pickle jar, whatever, you know. And I would get some hand warmers. It works the same as an oxygen absorber. You break them, and you tape them onto the lids with some duct tape or something, right? Because you may not remember, you know, if you're forgetful, you might forget to take out the hand warmer. That, you know, then you can't eat it. So you seal it on the top, right? Tape it on the top. That way, when you open the container, you know, it's there. Maybe leave a note, you know, hand warmers inside, or, you know, oxygen absorber, whatever. So you remember, and then tape it on the lid, seal it up, and it'll hold longer. And then you pack the food in boxes as tight as you could, right? And I would say if you have water containers in your closet, along with the 3-day bad weather box, then store them under your bed. I always had room under my bed. I always had junk there, man. Get rid of some of that junk, right? And you know, you can ask your parents to pick you up, you know, get me the certain item here and there. You can pick out a canned good every now and then. You can request a specific item every now and then. Now, of course, people say rice and beans, and yes and no. Yes, it is a great food. It's got a lot of shelf life, a lot of nutrients to it. It'll last forever, but that depends on your situation. If you live in a house and, you know, you've got space to yourself, yes. But I think in urban environments, you live in an apartment complex or something like that, or condo, if you're cooking food, people are going to smell it, and hungry people may not ask, they'll take, right? So it depends on your situation. Rice and beans are great, but it depends on the situation. And I'm pretty sure that's something you don't hear too often. I'm going to make a whole video about that, actually. But anyway, that's what I recommend as far as your food, right? MREs, guys, they're you can only eat them so long. You know, you're supposed to drink a lot of coffee with them so they filter through your body. It's not really good for you. You're not supposed to eat them for more than a month. So, you know, and they're expensive. They're bulky. You know, remember that when you get old enough. You know, look into something else. I like, you know, like Legacy or Wise or Mountain House, something like that. I mean, you know, Legacy is probably the best way to go. But anyway, in time. For now, you do what you can. Now, if something happened, you would ration the supplies, right? Don't just eat to get full. Just wait, you know, ration it out, and you'll be much better off. Your folks will be damn glad you did this if something happens. But remember, if something happens, then you're the expert. You need to learn and be like, look, guys, we got food, but we better ration it out. We can't just, you know, eat to get full. We eat to survive, not to get full. Because if you eat to get full, you know, I mean, the reality is, guys, you might starve. I mean, if there's no food, you're going to starve without food. So ration it out, right? Have supplies aside. It is important you do this. The next thing, some ideas on food. I would say clothing. Try to look like the gray man, they call it. You know, you can walk through somewhere without being noticed. Nobody remembers you, you know. You don't draw attention. I would have a box marked old clothes. Keep it in the closet. No bright colors. A pair of good pants, you know, like Dickies or something. Some work pants or something. No torn jeans and no shorts. A thick shirt or a durable athletic shirt. Depends on where you're at. Paracord bracelets, man. I would definitely have one of those. A baseball cap, right? Helps from the rain or the sun. A pair of sunglasses, right? Combined the gray man effect. No one's going to really remember your face in case you got to go somewhere or something. Here to A to B. I always say carry a belt, special leather belt. You can use it as cordage or even as a weapon, right? Probably need a good pair of boots, especially if it's cold. If you're going to do some walking, you know, especially if it's cold. A good coat if it's cold. A pair of gloves if it's cold, right? Those are must in some places. Now, skills, guys, skills. Things you need to learn. I would try to grow simple things like tomatoes, cucumbers, spinach, stuff like that. You see, you can make hanging pots out of milk cartons or like small buckets you get from the store that they were going to throw away anyway. It may not be enough to feed your family, but it would provide a small crutch, right? You're going to need some nutrients if you're eating just canned stuff. It'd help you big time. But more importantly, it's a skill that cannot be taught, man. You got to learn this. It's a hard skill to learn. Almost a lost art. 50 years ago, everybody had a garden, right? Back in World War II, even these guys, they had victory gardens, right? No one today knows how to do this. Very, very few people. So that's something you need to learn. You see, if there was somebody I could trust and they had a green thumb, because I don't. I try, a lot of stuff dies with me. I keep, I'm learning. My brother's got the green thumb, but, if there were people that had green thumbs and I could trust them, they got a place with me, right? That's a very important skill, the ability to grow your own food, right? Now, let's talk about hunting, okay? You should try to put together a fishing kit if you can. You can use sewing needles and thread, or depending on what you can find. I'm sure you can get some fishing kit. That'd be easy, depending on where you live, of course. Slingshots, man. That's something that just about any team can get, I'm sure. A slingshot. In Venezuela, they're eating birds and stuff, right? Learn from them. You don't want to use a firearm. Somebody's going to be out there with a gun, even a 22. You're going to blow a little finch or something away. There's going to be nothing left. But a slingshot, you're not going to run out of ammo. It's quiet. And if you're going to be, if it really came down to it, that might, I know there's young kids watching, but, if you're a prepper, you've thought about this, I'm sure. But, your parents probably know how to cook that. Cook it done. I'm sure they know about that. If not, tell them make sure you cook it done. And there you go. A BB gun or a pellet gun. Something that you can pump up, right? Not that takes CO2, right? It's like batteries. You're going to run out. Something that you can pump up, especially the ones you can multiple pump and charge it up, But no CO2. Right? A mouse trap. I would say, I got like, my wife has a couple of mouse traps in her bag. It's got a little bell like on a cat collar for when it goes off. And I've got a little attachment where I can put some snare wire so something can't get caught and run off. That might be something to keep in your bug out bag, right? As far as hunting goes, there you go. That's the best thing you can do, I'd say, in an urban environment. Now, they also talked about money, limited funds. They said they had a job, but still. Okay, so let's go over this. Money. First off, I've always been good with money. You've got limited amount of resources, make limited money. Being efficient with what you have, first off, I'll get into some other ideas, but being efficient with it is number one. Ever since I've had bills, I started a second account, and I get paid in one account, and every paycheck, I get paid 4 times a month, I would put 25% of my bills into a bank account. Now, like my electricity bill, it'll vary, right? Sometimes it's $100, sometimes it's 80 or something like that. It'll fluctuate a little bit. So I always put $100. I put the maximum amount of all my bills. Cell phone, some will be standard, some will fluctuate. You put 25% in a separate account. And what happens is, over time, since you're putting too much, it'll build up. I remember every so often, I check the account and it's, a couple $100 after, a while, and I take it out and I use it for something. It was a savings account without even being actually a savings account, So I've always been good with money. And then when you take out the bill money, then you know what you got to yourself. And I put some of that money into preps. So being efficient with your money is a big one, right? When I was really young, I'd take a big old pickle jar and, tape the hell out of it. Sometimes a little super glue to make sure I couldn't get into it. and put a little bit in there every time, right? If you have to do that, you have to, I like to make money now is eBay. Assuming your parents have an eBay account, or maybe even an Amazon account, I'm sure they would not mind you selling unwanted items on eBay. Now, again, this depends on how old you are, right? If you're young, maybe 16, 17, I don't know if you can do eBay under 18, I believe. But assume you're 16, 17. Well, hey, look, I want to sell this old junk. I want to make a little bit extra cash. I'm sure they wouldn't have a problem with that. If you're 18, you can do it on your own. I remember just a week ago, I got an alarm on eBay. I remember I was bidding on something, and it had like what things are going for, and I saw this thing for it was Disney VHS tapes, and they were selling for hundreds of dollars, and people were bidding on these damn things, and I never would have guessed it. I gotta say, when I go back to my dad's, I gotta say, hey, Dad, do you have these boxes of stuff? You don't care what I do with them, right? What I would do, of course, I got some of my old stuff that he got me, but what I would do with that, I'd sell them while people were gonna spend that much money, and I would buy preps for my family, right? Keep them safe, because the videotapes, I'm not gonna watch them anyway, right? I have some of the stuff he gave me, old toys and stuff. I just kept a little bit, but it's just like, you know what? I want to have something that he gave me as kids, and I got that aside. But the VHS tapes, man, something like that, you would collect them and wait for the holidays, right? Clean them up lightly and put them aside. Sell other items whenever. I would, first off, you look around for items you don't want and see what they go for on eBay, right? Sometimes it's not even worth it. Then you look for the highest price that's actually getting bids. You look at the ads and you try to reflect the successful ads, right? If you're young, you're in school, you're taking speech or have took speech, right? You have to write essays, I'm sure. You have more experience than you think, right? Look at the ads that are successful and replicate them. Take your own pictures and talk them up, put them on there, and sell stuff off. The higher dollar stuff, you wait for the holidays, right? Unless it's an item that's really hot, something that's in style at the moment, then you sell it right away. Another thing is junk drawers, right? It's like a modern day treasure hunt, right? What I would do sometimes is I would take Eisenhower dollars, Susan B. Anthony dollars, Kennedy dollars, bicentennial quarters, Canadian pennies, costume jewelry I'd find at yard sales or little sister didn't want, and just old little trinkets like that, man, old marbles and stuff like that. And maybe I found a cigar box or something in a yard sale. I put it all together, and it's like a modern day treasure hunt. People, they get excited about that, I don't understand it, but that's, what I've been told before, modern day treasure hunt. That's how it's done nowadays. I don't know. But they'll bid it up, man. And stuff that you think is junk, some people will pay, 2, 3, 4 times, whatever, I don't know. To them, they like it. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't even know what they do with it. Me, I can't find the logic in it, but there you go. Another one, of course, this depends on your age. Craigslist. I use it myself sometimes. Craigslist. I said, of course, this depends on your age, right? Maybe you're 13, maybe you're 19, I don't know. So use your head. If you're smart enough to realize prepping is a good idea, you're smart enough to, make a good judgment whether it's a good idea or not. You know your age, I don't. Now, some items cannot be sold on eBay. So I turn to Craigslist. Now, remember, always, 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 always meet in a public place, man. And do not go alone. I always meet in a restaurant or my bank lobby, right? I know no one's going to do anything if they're on camera, right? Now you can sell or trade items, right? Maybe eBay is not worth it due to shipping costs or something. But you can maybe do this on Craigslist. Maybe your parents would be on board, right? Think about this. I mean, the way I would pitch it, depending on your age again, let's say, hey, look, I want to try to, you're working on your people skills, right? I mean, I don't know how you know them better than I do. But interaction, dealing with people, that's always a good thing, right? Negotiations, people skills, those are important skills to have. Myself, I can sell things to people that they didn't even know they want until I told them, right? So, I mean, of course, I think Canadian Prepper was talking about that, about people in retail. Yes, there's some truth to that. It comes in handy. You can negotiate better, The way you buy and sell is you make sure you look people in the eye and you make them, know for a fact that you know exactly what you're talking about, and they don't. If they question themselves, you've made the sale or you've bought whatever you want. Now, people skills. So maybe they'd be on board with you, right? Of course, if you're young, they're going to go with you. They're going to watch, be like, okay, let your son or daughter do the talking and see how you do, right? You may make them proud. Maybe your parents are in sales. Maybe, I don't know, I don't know what they're doing, but, if they're in some kind of field where they find that admirable, maybe they'd be on board. Now, let's talk about Dollar Tree. If you watch my bug out bag video, just about everything I got, except for the machete and the backpack, which was just a backpack I got at a thrift store. But everything in that budget bug out bag came from Dollar Tree. I would say, I would say that I believe I'd have just as good of a chance with my budget bug out bag as any of the bug out bags, or most anyway, of the bug out bags I see on YouTube, right? A lot of them miss all kinds of crucial items, I don't agree with a lot of them. And I had a lot of things in there, like I said, water procurement, water filtration, fire, food, shelter, right? Lots of things. And I got it all at Dollar Tree. Everything is actually $1, right? Now, there's some truth to what you get, what you pay for. However, I mean, do you really need a $200 flashlight, right? Is it going to be 200 times brighter or 200 times more durable than another flashlight, some aluminum or steel flashlight you buy? I wouldn't think so. And besides that, are you going to have that $200 flashlight in your bug out bag? It's better to have a flashlight than no flashlight, right? $1 flashlight's better if it's in a bag than a $200 flashlight you left at home. So, Dollar Tree, if you live close to one or maybe there's one nearby, that's a great place to start looking, man. Great place to start looking. Now, Walmart, right? Your folks probably go to Walmart, right? So, Old Wally World. Of course, you can't find everything you need at Dollar Tree, but a lot of things you can find at Walmart. Walmart has some of the cheapest prices around. Again, it's not top of the line, but again, like the flashlight, it's better to have a flashlight than none. These guys that have a bag, this bag here is the, it's YouTube has a lot of these guys with bug out bags just showing off gear. Even preppers with large followings, respectable guys. Here's this expensive, really cool, expensive flashlight. This is top of the line, and this costs this much. And, that's the way I see it. It's just, overpriced equipment I got here. Here's another overpriced piece of equipment that everybody wants. Sometimes, yes, right? Water filtration, I believe you should, that you don't want to skimp on, Like I like the Sawyer water filter, 100,000 gallons. It can filter up to 100,000 gallons of water, right? That's more than enough, and I'd have one or two of those just in case. But like a expensive backpack, a tactical vest that costs as much as a gun itself. I mean, there's better ways to use your money, man. Unless you win a lottery ticket or you got some serious coin, be smart with it. Now, again, it's just respectable guys too. But the most important thing is using your head, learning skills. Understanding we cannot plan for everything, and we must be able to solve unforeseen problems as they arise. Now, again, yard sales. Here's another good one. Oh, Yard sales, you can find all kinds of things at a yard sale, man. I remember when I walk home from high school, I would always check out a yard sale when I saw one, man. Luck is a big factor. However, if you're a prepper or a survivalist or whatever the case may be, you need to walk into a unfamiliar place and look around, see what you could use. Look at items in ways you never thought about, right? Let's say there was an SHTF and you ran into that yard sale. Everybody was, you know, they left it, their family's gone or something like that, and there was all kinds of stuff just laying out, right? What can you use this for? What can you use that for, right? You need to be able to think about things like that, right? What can you use shoelaces for, you know, besides shoelaces? I mean, come on, man. You know, if there's an SHTF, you might need to make a drip water filter, make a splint, start a fire out of random items you find. This is a skill set that, again, cannot be taught. It must be learned. And yard sales are a great place to start. Sometimes you get lucky, and maybe you'll find like a good knife for fishing gear. Maybe some ex-military guys throwing out some old gear, right? That you can use, a sleeping bag or bag or, you know, I don't know. Chest rig, you never know. Maybe you'll get lucky and find some camping gear, right? You know, you never know. So check out yard sales. Pawn shops can be hit or miss, right? But the prices can be negotiated. Because you're younger, it may be harder for you than you know, anybody else. But remember, nowadays, in your pocket, you know, what you call a cell phone, when I was a teenager, I would call that a small computer. You can get in your phone and look up items in the pawn shop. Look it up on eBay, look it up at Amazon, right? Lowest priced used items, whatever it may be. With bids, ending soon, you know. You can show the pawn guy, you know what it's worth, and you're willing to pay him a fair price. And you need to be able to be prepared to walk away, right? If they don't go down to that price. You can show them. Now remember, again, confidence, man, is the most important thing to a buyer or a seller. Making the other person believe you know for a fact whatever it is you're saying, and making them question themselves. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But it's a very important skill, and sometimes you can get items cheaper. I mean, they buy them for cheap anyway, right? Going to make a little bit of money, of course, but they're not buying them for retail. They're not selling them for retail price. You can negotiate, but be ready to walk out of that pawn shop. If they don't go down, then you were fine without that item, right? Of course, your folks probably see this, and you'll make them proud, I'm pretty sure, right? That you can handle yourself with people. But remember, you have to believe it too. You know, you be ready to walk out that door, you know, if they don't go down on prices and if you have it, you know. Anyway, guys, that's the best I can come up with. You know, I've thought about this for a couple of days. But it's kind of harder. You got to use your head, you know. And if you're a prepper, not a young prepper, but a older prepper, you're an adult prepper doing this stuff, and you've watched this video, then, you know, of course, young preppers are something we have an obligation to help, right? We're trying to make things, you know, survive. Well, the young are the future. So leave ideas, things that you've thought of, you know, what you did as teens or young preppers. Share your ideas with these guys. They may need it, right? And you young preppers, man, share this video with other people that you think may be interested, and share your ideas. You're going to learn from each other, right? You've got a head start. I probably started this when I was about 15, 16. That's when I really started thinking about prepping. So you start, you know, you're going to be, you know, where the rest of us are or ahead of us. Anyway, I hope this helps, and you know who you are. I hope that answered your question. And that's what I think of. You know, again, there's some things that I can't teach you. You have to learn on your own, and that's looking at things in different ways. You know, items you can use. What can you use these items for? You know, a shoe, whatever the hell the case may be. You know, I don't know what the future holds, but you know, learning to look at things from different perspectives is very important, and it's something you have to, you know, learn yourself. But anyway, I hope you got some ideas off this. I hope it helps, and I hope it was worth the wait. I almost replied right away, but I thought I'd put some thought into it. Anyway, I'm out. Thanks for watching, guys.